Го гледате неделното интервју на Радио Слободна Европа. Наш денешен гостин е шефот на мисијата на ОБСЕ во земјава, амбасадорот Ралф Брет. Амбасадоре Брет, во последниот период актуелни се реформите во образованието, особено оние за задолжително полагање на државен испит на факултетите. Видовме дека илјадници студенти протестираа, но и покрај се владата не се откажува од оваа реформа, впрочем законот веќе ја помина владината седница. Како вие ги оценувате овие владини политики?
The quality in the education is of course very relevant, and it is a responsibility of the government to provide this quality and to create the conditions. But this proposed state exam would considerably affect the established practices and be a big change for the high schools and universities, so there should be consultation from our point of view to listen maybe more and to include the opinions of the stakeholders. This means of the teachers and of the students.
Велите дека проблемот може да се реши преку диалог на сите засегнати страни.
The process seems rather short, yeah. So I would say that there could be more consultation still.
Може ли нешто да се промени пред законот да помине во собрание?
At the end, the parliament adopts the law. So in the process in the parliament, regulations, draft laws can be changed. There is always an opportunity until the moment it is adopted.
Еден од проектите на мисијата на ОБСЕ е и оној за интегрирано образование. Амбасадоре Брет, дали тоа е единствениот модел за надминување на поделеноста во училиштата?
Well, first I want to say that this strategy on integrated education is a government strategy adopted in 2010. But from the beginning, OBSE helped to develop it, and OBSE is now supporting its implementation. We see it as one tool to overcome division in the first point in the schools, but also in the society, because the opinions and the attitudes are formed in this age. But division is also in other sectors of the society, and there are many ways in the civil society, but also in the way how the government is presenting itself, how the politicians, the opinion leaders are presenting themselves and are influencing the opinions to overcome division.
Која е според вас причината за етничката нетрпеливост и за се почестите меѓуетнички инциденти, особено помеѓу младите луѓе?
I see mainly two sources of this problem. The one is stereotypes that are deeply rooted and that are there in the private life, in the families and so on, that they are handed over from one generation to the next. The second is the division, which is of course partly due to the education in the mother tongue. The education in mother tongue is something that we support because it's also in the Framework Agreement. But it means that the majority parts, I mean the two major communities, have their education mostly separated. And we think that if you make changes, I mean first in the families a climate of tolerance and of openness to the other communities should be nurtured, and in the schools you should have more activities together. At least you can start with non-curricular activities, but also many subjects you could teach together. But of course the details are up to the authorities in consultation with the schools and with the parents and teachers to be decided.
Каква е вашата оценка за политичката клима во земјава? Веќе подолго време опозицијата не е во парламентот, а не гледаме ниту сигнали за обновување на политичкиот диалог.
I mean, the general we see, despite of all the problems you mentioned, and I will say something about this, I see a stable situation. I mean, we see a country that is working, that is that the normal procedures are going on, but of course the problem of the absence of the opposition is relevant and for the democratic process serious. We think and that the place of members of the parliament is in the parliament. if they are elected, they should accept the mandate. And we have also emphasized this message to the leaders of the opposition, especially to Mr. Saif, and I think this opinion is shared by all the internationals. I think recently just the Commissioner for Enlargement said the same. And as long as the situation is going on, there is no normal work in the parliament. And we think this should start as soon as possible.
Амбасадоре, дали собранието во кое што не е присутна опозицијата ја доведува од друга страна во прашање легитимноста на законите кои што се гласаат во него?
Well, of course it is a constitutional question which at the end the Constitutional Court would have to answer, but is it, of course, it is let's say a minus if only the representatives of the majority, of the parties who form the majority, are voting on laws and are voting on politics. It is not so much, I mean, the legal question I don't want to qualify, but from the political side, it is, let's say, there is a certain manko in this, I would clearly say.
Колку според вас македонската влада ги има вклучено забелешките на ОБСЕ, ОДИХР во однос на изборниот законник?
Well, you know, to explain briefly to the viewers, after elections, ODIHR, they present reports in which they make remarks on problems that they found. I mean, they also mention, of course, the positive things on problems, and then they give recommendations. After the last elections, not only the elections of this year, but there were always working groups were established to work on these recommendations. I want to leave it to the judgment of ODIHR to say if from their point of view, because they are a specialized organization and they are the institution of the OBSE that deals with the election recommendations, I mean with the recommendations based on the election process. But what we saw after the last election was, of course, the problem that the working groups established could not fully work because there were no opposition representative. So at least since spring 2014, we could not see progress in this field.
Во исто време, амбасадоре, гледаме дека многу млади луѓе од земјата заминуваат во Сирија и во Ирак да се борат во рамките на исламската држава и покрај законот кој што беше донесен кај нас, со кој што се предвидуваат сериозни затворски казни за оние кои што ќе се борат во странски војски. Колку е опасна оваа појава?
First, it is a general phenomenon, not only here in the region, but also in Europe. I mean, my own home country and some other European countries have to deal, and even outside, beyond Europe. It's a generalized phenomena, a relatively new phenomena. This is what we call the foreign fighters. We see it as relevant, and we share the concern that the head of state has expressed also in his end of the year address, but also several government members, because the young people who go abroad to fight, they come back with new skills. Their threshold of their moral threshold is shrinking. I mean, killing people, especially in the way these radical groups do, and they might come back, first recruit new persons, young persons, for this activities, and second, to consider to commit terrorist acts here. So we share the concern. We think it is a very relevant risk everywhere, and we have already informed the government about some activities going on in participating states of the OBSE. This means best practices of member states, how they find this phenomenon and what could be done to de-radicalize and to reduce this risk.
Амбасадоре Брет, ви благодарам што бевте наш гостин.
Thank you for your questions.
Вам, почитувани, ви благодарам за вниманието со кое не следевте. Довидување за една недела.